I never expected to find out my wife was a lying, cheating snake while eating a damn burger at Joe's Diner. But that's exactly how it happened. The place was packed, buzzing with the usual late-night crowd. Truckers, couples, and groups of guys getting a last drink before heading home. I was sitting in my booth, halfway through my beer, when I heard it. A laugh. Loud, arrogant, familiar. I turned my head, and there he was, Ben, my so-called best friend, the guy I'd known since college, sitting with a bunch of his buddies. He was grinning, waving his beer around like some king of the world. Bro, I swear, she was all over me that night. Couldn't resist. Right there in the back room of the wedding venue. The words didn't register at first. Someone else spoke, laughing. Dude, you banged a married chick at her own wedding? Ben leaned in, smirking. Not just any chick. Liza. The world around me stopped. Liza. My wife. The woman I had promised my life to. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just sat there, gripping my beer so hard my knuckles turned white. I waited for the punchline, for Ben to say something. Anything that would make it all a joke. A sick misunderstanding. But no, he kept going. Man, she was a freak, Ben chuckled. I swear, she didn't even hesitate. Told me she just needed one last wild night before settling down. And get this, afterward, she went right back out there, kissed Harry, and danced like nothing happened. I should have blacked out. I should have flipped the table and beaten the life out of him right there. But instead, I sat completely still, because my brain was already working, piecing together every weird moment from the past 3 years. The way Liza had dodged questions about Ben. The way she got tense whenever I mentioned his name. The stupid fights we had about trust. How she always made me feel like an idiot for suspecting anything. And the worst part? The daughter I had been raising for 2 years. My stomach twisted. I had to know. I stood up, my chair scraping the floor, but Ben didn't even notice me yet. He was too busy bragging, the bastard. I walked straight to the counter, threw down a 20, and left without a word. The ride home was a blur. My fingers were locked on the steering wheel. My jaw clenched so tight it ached. Liza was sitting on the couch when I walked in, scrolling through her phone like she didn't have a care in the world. She looked up, her expression neutral. You're home early, she said, setting her phone down. Something wrong. I stared at her. This woman, this lying, two-faced, cheating witch, had stood there 3 years ago, in her perfect white dress, and told me I was the only man she had ever truly loved. And the entire time she had already betrayed me. I took a deep breath. My voice came out deadly calm. Liza, I said, whose kid is sleeping in that room? Her face changed, just for a second. A flicker of something, fear, guilt, before she covered it up with an irritated sigh. What kind of stupid question is that? She snapped. Of course, she's yours. I pulled out my phone and tossed it on the coffee table. The screen was open to a DNA testing site. I had ordered a kit last week. After one too many weird gut feelings. I had the results, and they were clear. 0%. Not my daughter. Liza's face went pale. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You're going to tell me everything, right now. And that's when she smirked. Not fear, not guilt, a smirk. Oh, Harry, she said, leaning back against the couch. You're really this naive? My hands clenched into fists. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was war. I stared at her, my pulse pounding in my ears. She wasn't crying. She wasn't apologizing. She was mocking me. Liza crossed her legs, picking up her phone like this was some minor inconvenience. So what now, Harry? You gonna cry? Yell? Pack your bags like some tragic little hero. She chuckled, shaking her head. Grow up. I saw red. This woman, this snake, had lied to me, made me raise a child that wasn't mine, and now had the audacity to sit there and smirk? I grabbed the DNA results from the table and shoved them in her face. Explain this. My voice was deadly quiet, controlled. She rolled her eyes. You seriously went and did a DNA test? God, that's pathetic. She sighed dramatically, tossing her phone on the couch. All right, fine. You want the truth? Here's the truth. She sat up, brushing her hair back like she was about to tell some harmless little story. I was never in love with you, Harry. Not really. You were just the safe option. The guy who adored me, who I knew would do anything I wanted. Ben, he was fun, exciting. He knew how to keep a woman entertained. A slow, wicked grin spread across her face. And yeah, that one last wild night before the wedding, it wasn't just one night. She tilted her head, watching for my reaction like she was enjoying a damn game. It was a lot of nights. A lot. Right up until I walked down that aisle and said, I do. The words hit like a sledgehammer. I could have handled her lying. I could have handled her cheating. But this was something else. She didn't just betray me. She had never loved me. I was just a placeholder. My hands clenched into fists, nails digging into my palms. And my daughter? My voice cracked, but I didn't care. Did you ever plan on telling me she wasn't mine? Liza shrugged. Why would I? You were doing a great job playing daddy. Why ruin a good thing? I exhaled slowly, fighting the overwhelming urge to throw something, break something. I turned away, raking my hands through my hair, trying to think. Liza sighed behind me. Look, can we just get this over with? What do you want, Harry? A divorce? Fine. Take your papers and go cry about it. I turned back to her. You think this is just about a divorce? My voice was low, dangerous. You stole years of my life. You made me raise another man's child. I stopped myself before I said something I couldn't take back. Liza just laughed. Harry, you're not the first guy to get cheated on. Get over it. Something in me snapped. I grabbed my keys off the counter and stormed out the door, slamming it behind me. I needed air, needed to think. My heart was pounding, my mind racing. I got into my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I wasn't going to just get over it. Liza wanted to play games? Fine. I was about to ruin her entire life. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard it felt like my bones might snap. My mind raced through every moment I had spent loving that woman, every sacrifice I had made, every time I had trusted her. And for what? To be some idiot she strung along while she played house with me? No. She thought I'd just walk away, cry it out, and move on. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I pulled out my phone and started making calls. First, my lawyer. I didn't care if it was late. I needed to know my options. Assets, custody, everything. I wasn't about to let her walk away from this with a single damn thing of mine. Then Ben, the real father of my daughter. It rang twice before he picked up. Hey man, what's up? His voice was casual, relaxed. That pissed me off even more. I took a deep breath. You and Liza. How long? A long silence. Then, a nervous chuckle. What? I clenched my jaw. Don't play dumb, Ben. I know everything. How long? Another pause. Then a sigh. Harry, man. Look, I didn't mean for it to happen this way. So it did happen. My voice was ice. Yeah. He sounded defeated. It was before the wedding and after. But she told me it was over. I had no idea. Did you know about the kid? Silence. Then, Harry, man, I hung up. Coward. I sat there, breathing heavily, my pulse hammering in my ears. My world was crumbling, but one thing was clear. Liza wasn't getting away with this. By the time I walked back into the house, my head was clearer. I found Liza still lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she hadn't just detonated our entire marriage. She looked up, rolling her eyes. Oh, you're back. I was hoping you'd just leave for good. I smiled. That threw her off. Actually, I said, tossing my keys onto the table, I've been thinking, maybe you're right. Maybe I do need to grow up. She snorted. Glad you finally. I called a lawyer. Her smirk vanished. And I called Ben. Now she looked nervous. I sat down across from her, calm, collected. You think you're untouchable, Liza. You think you can cheat, lie, laugh in my face, and just walk away? You think you can steal years of my life and I'll just roll over? I leaned forward, lowering my voice. You've got no idea how wrong you are. Her jaw tightened. You're not gonna do sh. Oh, I am. I cut her off. Starting with the house. I leaned back, arms crossed. Guess whose name is on the deed? She paled. That's right. Mine. I smiled coldly. And since we don't have a prenup, I can make sure you leave with nothing. Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but I wasn't finished. Second, the kid? Not mine. Which means, legally, I have no obligation to pay a damn cent in child support. Liza's face twisted in fury. You wouldn't. Oh, I would. I stood up. And I already did. DNA results are with my lawyer now. Good luck explaining that one to the court. She shot up from the couch, eyes blazing. You piece of... I held up a hand. You wanted to play dirty, sweetheart? Welcome to the real game. She lunged for me, but I stepped back, grabbing my keys. I'd start packing if I were you. You've got about a week before the court orders you out. She screamed in frustration, throwing her phone across the room. I smirked. Checkmate. Liza stood there, chest heaving, hands clenched into fists. Her eyes burned with rage, but beneath all that bravado, I saw it. The panic. The slow, creeping realization that this wasn't some petty fight she could manipulate her way out of. She had played her games for too long, thinking she'd always have the upper hand. Not anymore. You're full of sh. She spat, but her voice wavered. I pulled my phone from my pocket, tapped the screen, and turned it toward her. The email from my lawyer was open, the subject line clear. DNA results confirmed. Legal action proceeding. ***. Her face went white. I'd love to stay and hear more of your lies, I said, slipping the phone back into my pocket. But honestly, I've wasted enough time on you. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. And since you like being around Ben so much, why don't you go stay with him? I glanced over my shoulder. Oh, wait. He's probably already running for the hills. Liza lunged for me, her nails aiming for my face, but I stepped aside effortlessly. She stumbled forward, catching herself on the couch. You think you can just throw me out? She screeched, spinning around, eyes wild. You don't get to do this to me. I laughed. That made her freeze. Oh, sweetheart, I said, shaking my head. You did this to yourself. She opened her mouth, but I was already walking out the door. The cold night air hit me like a slap, but for the first time in weeks, I could actually breathe. I walked to my car, slid in, and started the engine, gripping the wheel as the reality of it all settled in. It was over. No, not yet, but soon. I drove without thinking, letting the road stretch ahead of me, the city lights blurring past. My mind was a storm of memories, all those moments I had trusted her, loved her, believed in her, and all along, she had been lying straight to my face. But she wasn't the only one. Ben, that snake, that coward. I yanked my phone from my pocket and dialed his number. This time, he didn't pick up. Figures. I gritted my teeth and pulled into a parking lot, needing a second to think. My phone buzzed, a text from Ben. Man, I'm sorry. Can we talk? ***. I stared at the screen. Can we talk? After 2 years of lies? After betraying me in the worst possible way? He thought we could just talk? I cracked my neck, exhaled slowly. Fine, let's talk. I sent him a simple reply. Meet me. Now, you know where? ***. I knew he'd come. He'd be scared, but he'd come. And when he did, I'd make damn sure he regretted every single decision that brought him to this moment. Ben showed up faster than I expected. Cowards always do when they're desperate to explain themselves. His car rolled into the parking lot, headlights cutting through the darkness, and I could see him gripping the wheel like he was debating whether to turn around. But he didn't. He parked, sat there for a second, then finally stepped out. He looked like shit. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair disheveled like he hadn't slept, and his face was pale, probably because he knew I wasn't here to exchange pleasantries. I leaned against my car, arms crossed, watching as he walked up, each step hesitant. He was nervous. Good. Harry. He rubbed the back of his neck. Man, listen, I cut him off. No. No more excuses, no more bullshit. You lied to my face for 2 years. You went behind my back, betrayed me, and for what? Because you thought I wouldn't find out. His jaw tightened. I never wanted it to happen like this. I let out a humorless laugh. Oh, so you had a better way to stab me in the back? Enlighten me, Ben. He clenched his fists, looking away. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. That did it. That snapped whatever restraint I had left. I moved so fast he didn't even have time to react before I grabbed his collar and shoved him backward against his car. Didn't mean anything? I growled, shoving harder. You slept with my wife. You helped her lie to me every damn day. It didn't mean anything? He winced, trying to push me off. I'm sorry, man. I screwed up. I let go, shoving him back one last time. He stumbled, catching himself against the car. I shook my head. You don't get to call me man anymore, Ben. You lost that right when you decided to betray me. He swallowed, breathing heavily, hands still raised slightly as if he thought I'd hit him again. For a brief moment, I actually considered it. But no, he wasn't worth it. I exhaled sharply, stepping back. I don't care about your apologies. I don't care what you feel. I don't even care why you did it. The only reason I'm standing here right now is to make one thing clear. Asterisk, stay away from me. Stay away from my house. Stay away from my life. You mean nothing to me anymore. Asterisk. His face crumpled like he wanted to argue. But he knew better. He nodded, barely. I get it. Good. I turned, walking back to my car, leaving him standing there. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. This part of my life was done. Now I just had to finish the job. When I got home, the house was dark. The silence felt heavier than usual, like the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting. Liza was in the kitchen, sitting at the table with a glass of wine in front of her. She barely looked up when I walked in. I shut the door harder than necessary. So, I had an interesting conversation tonight. She swirled the wine in her glass, unfazed. Oh, I clenched my jaw. Cut the act, Liza. I talked to Ben. That got her attention. Her fingers tensed around the stem of the glass, and she finally looked at me, her expression carefully neutral. And, I laughed bitterly. That's all you have to say? Not even going to pretend to deny it. She sighed dramatically, leaning back in her chair. What do you want me to say, Harry? That I'm sorry? That it was a mistake? Would that even matter to you at this point? My blood boiled at her tone, so casual, so indifferent, like she was talking about a parking ticket instead of shattering our entire marriage. It would have mattered 2 years ago, Liza. It would have mattered before you spent 2 years lying to my face. Before I had to find out the truth from a damn DNA test instead of my own wife. She rolled her eyes. Rolled her damn eyes. You're so dramatic. She took a slow sip of wine, like she wasn't ripping my life apart. I knew you'd overreact like this. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay in control. I wasn't going to let her manipulate this. Overreact. I echoed. You cheated on me on our wedding day, Liza. Our wedding day. And then you let me believe for 2 years that our daughter was mine. She scoffed, setting her glass down with a clink. Oh, please. You think you're some kind of victim? You think you're so perfect? Maybe if you had paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. I stared at her, disbelief washing over me. Are you seriously blaming me for this? She shrugged, completely unbothered. I'm just saying marriages don't fall apart in a vacuum, Harry. You were always so busy with work, with your stupid projects. You stopped making me feel wanted. Ben didn't. My fists clenched. Ben didn't? I repeated slowly, the words making my stomach churn. She tilted her head, eyes gleaming with something smug. That's right. He was there for me when you weren't. And honestly, he was better at it. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed the nearest chair and hurled it across the room. Crashed against the wall, splintering, the sound making Liza jump. She laughed. "You're such a child," she said, shaking her head. "What, you think throwing furniture is going to make me regret it? That it's going to change anything?" I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "No, Liza. Nothing will change what you did. But here's what's going to happen now." Her smirk faltered just slightly. I continued, my voice calm, steady. "Tomorrow morning, I'm filing for divorce. I'm getting a lawyer. And you? You're going to pack your things and get the hell out of my house." Her eyes narrowed. Asterisk, asterisk, your asterisk, asterisk house? I nodded. "Mine. The prenup makes sure of that. You don't get a damn thing from me." She scoffed. "You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't kick me and our daughter out." I inhaled sharply, controlling the burning rage in my chest. "She's not our daughter, Liza. And I don't trust you to tell me the truth about anything anymore." For the first time, real panic flickered across her face. "Wait, Harry." "No," I held up a hand. "We're done talking." I turned on my heel, walking upstairs, leaving her alone with her empty wine glass and her shattered lies. I locked myself in the bedroom, breathing hard, trying to contain the storm inside me. My hands were shaking, my chest felt tight, but I wasn't going to break. Not now. Not when I finally had the truth in front of me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message. From Ben. "Ben asterisk asterisk, hey man. I know you found out. Look, I didn't want it to go down like this. Can we talk?" Asterisk. I stared at the screen, feeling the rage bubble up again. The audacity. He didn't want it to go down like this? The man slept with my wife, lied to my face for 2 years, and now he wanted to talk? I started typing back, fingers moving with pure adrenaline. "Me asterisk come over." I hit send before I could think twice. The house was dead silent as I sat on the edge of the bed, waiting. Liza hadn't come upstairs. She probably thought I'd calm down overnight, that I'd wake up softer, more reasonable. She didn't know me at all. 15 minutes later, headlights flashed through the window. I stood up, feeling my heart pound harder. Time to face the man who destroyed my life. I went downstairs and opened the door before he could knock. Ben stood there, hands in his pockets, looking like the same guy I used to call my best friend. The same guy who stood next to me at my wedding, grinning, pretending to be happy for me while he was already sleeping with my wife. He shifted awkwardly. "Harry, listen." Punched him. His head snapped back, and he stumbled, grabbing the doorframe for balance. He blinked at me, stunned. "Jesus, man." I grabbed his shirt and yanked him forward, shoving him inside before slamming the door shut behind us. "No, you listen," I growled. "You're going to tell me exactly how long this has been going on. No lies, no excuses." He wiped his mouth, checking for blood. "I deserve that. You deserve a hell of a lot worse," I said, my voice dangerously low. "So start talking," he sighed, rubbing his face. "It was one time, man. Just once." I clenched my fists. "You expect me to believe that? It's the truth." He exhaled sharply. "It was the night before your wedding. We were drinking. Things got out of hand. And it just happened." I stared at him, jaw tightening. "And after that?" She told me it lasted months. His eyes flickered with something, hesitation, guilt. I laughed coldly. "That's what I thought. Keep talking." He hesitated. "All right. Yeah." It went on for a while. "After you got married, she kept reaching out and I was weak. Okay? I let it happen." "You let it happen?" I echoed, stepping closer. "You make it sound like a car accident. You weren't some helpless victim, Ben. You were screwing your best friend's wife behind his back." He swallowed hard, looking away. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my temper in check. "And the baby? Did you ever stop to wonder if she was yours?" His face paled. I never thought about it." Of course he didn't. He got to have his fun and walk away without consequences. Meanwhile, I spent 2 years raising a child who wasn't mine, pouring my heart into a lie. I took a step back, shaking my head. "Get out." He hesitated. Harry! I grabbed him by the collar and shoved him toward the door. I said, "Get out. Before I do something we'll both regret." He didn't argue this time. He turned and walked out without another word, leaving me standing in the doorway, fists clenched, breathing hard. I slammed the door shut, locking it behind him. Liza was standing at the foot of the stairs, arms crossed. "Well?" she said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "That was mature." I turned to her slowly. "Don't push me, Liza," she scoffed. "What, are you going to hit me next?" I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay in control. "No, because unlike you, I have some self-respect." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, spare me the righteous act, Harry. You're acting like the victim when you were never even man enough to keep me interested." I stared at her, my jaw tightening. "You really are shameless, aren't you?" She shrugged. "I don't see the point in pretending. You're divorcing me anyway, right? So what do I have to lose?" I smiled coldly. "Everything." For the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed her face. I took a slow step forward, lowering my voice. "You think you're walking away from this clean? You think you get to play the heartless bitch and still come out on top? You don't. I'm going to make sure you lose everything you took for granted." She blinked, her smirk faltering just slightly. "What the hell does that mean?" I didn't answer. I just turned and walked upstairs, already planning my next move. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning like a machine that wouldn't shut down. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. In my house, in my bed, the laughter, the whispers, the betrayal. At some point, I got up and went to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. My reflection stared back at me, tired, angry, and barely holding it together. I didn't recognize myself. This wasn't just about Liza cheating. It was about who she cheated with when she did it, and the fact that I had been raising another man's child without knowing. And now, she was acting like she was the victim, like I was the pathetic idiot she never respected in the first place. No more. By the time the sun rose, my mind was clear. I was done being the fool. Downstairs, Liza was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with her phone in her hand, scrolling like nothing had happened, like our marriage wasn't in ruins, like she hadn't just admitted she never even respected me. I poured myself a cup of coffee, not saying a word. She didn't look up. "You're being dramatic." I set my mug down harder than necessary. "Excuse me," she sighed. "All this, the silent treatment, the anger. We're adults, Harry. People cheat. It happens. You'll get over it." I laughed. I actually laughed, because the sheer audacity of this woman was beyond anything I could have imagined. "You think I'm going to get over it?" I said, shaking my head. "Liza, I don't think you understand what you've done." She finally put her phone down, crossing her arms. "Oh, I understand perfectly. You're hurt. Your ego is bruised. But let's not pretend this was some fairy tale marriage, Harry. You were boring, predictable. You wanted to play house, but I needed more than that." My fingers tightened around the mug. "So you got more with my best friend?" She smirked. "You weren't man enough to keep me interested." That was it. The final push. I set my coffee down carefully, inhaling slowly. "All right, Liza. Let's talk about being man enough." She raised an eyebrow. "Oh, this should be good. You think you've won?" I asked, my voice calm. "You think you're walking away from this untouched? No consequences?" She scoffed. "What are you going to do? Cry to a lawyer?" I leaned forward. "No. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. Your friends, your family, your coworkers. Every single person in your life is going to know that you're a lying, cheating, selfish." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. Like I care what people think." "You will," I said, my voice deadly quiet. She hesitated. I stood up and walked toward the door. "You have no idea what's coming." And with that, I left the house. The first thing I did was call a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. The best divorce attorney in town. The kind who specialized in making people like Liza regret ever thinking they could walk away clean. By noon, I was sitting across from him in his office, laying everything out. The affair, the paternity test, the manipulation. He listened carefully, nodding. Then he smiled. You have every right to be furious. But if you want to win this, we need to be strategic. I don't just want to win, I said. I want her to lose. He chuckled. Then you came to the right place. Over the next hour, we planned everything. Freezing our joint accounts so she couldn't drain them. Filing for divorce first so I had the upper hand. And most importantly, exposing her. Are you sure you want to go public with this? My lawyer asked. I didn't even hesitate. Absolutely. By the time I left his office, my next steps were clear. Step 1. Change the locks. Step 2. Gather every piece of evidence I had. Step 3. Make sure everyone knew the truth. And step 4? Make damn sure Liza regretted ever thinking she could walk over me and walk away unscathed. I drove straight home, my pulse steady, my mind razor sharp. The house that once felt like a warm, safe place now felt like a crime scene. Every piece of furniture, every framed picture, every shadow in the hallway whispered lies and betrayal. Liza wasn't home when I arrived. Good. That made things easier. The first thing I did was change the locks. I wasn't about to let her waltz back in like nothing happened. Let her stand outside and feel a fraction of the humiliation she put me through. Next, I went upstairs to our bedroom. No, my bedroom now, and started gathering her things. I wasn't going to toss them in the trash. That would be too easy. I packed them into garbage bags and stacked them by the front door like the filth they were. Then I went for my laptop. I had everything I needed: screenshots, text messages, call logs, the paternity test results. My lawyer had advised me to be careful with how I released the information, but he never said I couldn't release it. I started with her parents. Liza had always loved playing the role of the perfect daughter. They thought she was an angel, a devoted wife, the kind of woman who could do no wrong. I sent them the screenshots first, the messages between her and George, the late-night calls, the confirmation that she had slept with him on our wedding night. And then, for the grand finale, I sent them the paternity test. It took less than 5 minutes for my phone to ring. It was her mother. Harry. Her voice was shaking. Hello, Diane. My voice was cold. I wasn't here for sympathy. Please tell me this isn't true. Oh, it's true. A pause. Then, a quiet sob on the other end. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, I said. Just know that your daughter is not the person you think she is. She kept crying, trying to apologize for Liza's actions, but I didn't care. I let her talk, let her drown in the shame of raising a monster, and then I hung up. Next, I moved to our friends. I made a group chat with our closest circle, the people Liza and I had known for years, the ones who had stood beside us at our wedding, who had celebrated anniversaries and holidays with us. And I dropped every single piece of evidence into that chat. The responses came in fast. What the F? Asterisk. Asterisk, are you serious? On your wedding night. Asterisk. Asterisk. She's disgusting. Asterisk. Asterisk. I can't believe this. I feel sick. Asterisk. Then came the calls. People who had thought they knew Liza, who had once called her a friend, now scrambling to process the truth. I ignored most of them. The only one I answered was my best friend Mark. Dude, he said, his voice thick with rage. I'm at a loss for words. Yeah, me too. What are you going to do? I smiled for the first time that day. I'm just getting started. Liza finally showed up an hour later. She pulled into the driveway, her car screeching to a stop when she saw the bags by the door. Then she tried to open the front door. It didn't budge. She jiggled the handle, knocked, then started pounding. I took my time walking over. When I finally opened the door, I leaned against the frame, arms crossed. Her face was red with rage. What the hell is this? Your things, I said simply. You don't live here anymore. She let out a sharp, humorless laugh. You can't just kick me out. Oh, I can. I pulled out my phone and waved it in front of her face. And trust me, Liza, you're lucky that's all I did. She hesitated. What did you do? I smirked. Check your phone. She pulled it out, unlocking it with shaky fingers. As soon as she opened her messages, her face drained of color. Her mother had called her a disgrace. Her father had told her not to bother coming home. Our friends were ripping her apart in the group chat. And then, the best part, a message from George. What the F did you do? My wife just found out everything. She's leaving me. I lost my job because of you. You ruined me. Asterisk. Liza's hands trembled as she read the words. I leaned in, dropping my voice to a whisper. How does it feel, Liza? To have everything you thought you could keep come crashing down. Her eyes snapped to mine, filled with pure venom. You think you won? She spat. You think this makes you some kind of hero? No, I said, stepping back into the house. But it sure as hell makes me free. And then, without another word, I shut the door in her face. Liza stood there for a moment, fists clenched, her breathing uneven. I could hear the sound of her rage bubbling under the surface, the weight of everything she had done crashing down all at once. She wanted to scream, to claw her way back inside, to throw one last pathetic excuse at me, to beg or to curse or to play whatever manipulative game she had left in her arsenal. But she knew. She knew she had lost. I watched through the peephole as she kicked one of the bags, sending it flying off the porch, then stormed back to her car. The engine roared to life, and in a blur of taillights and screeching tires, she was gone. And just like that, asterisk asterisk, so was she asterisk asterisk. I stood there for a moment, staring at the door. I expected to feel something. Grief, relief, anger, anything. But all I felt was emptiness. A strange, unfamiliar quiet settled over the house. And for the first time in years, I wasn't suffocating in my own home. I took a deep breath, and then I laughed. It wasn't the laugh of a broken man, or a bitter one. It was a laugh of freedom, of clarity, of a man who had just wiped the filth off his soul and was finally seeing the world for what it was. I walked to the kitchen, opened a bottle of whiskey, and poured myself a glass. I didn't drink out of sadness, I drank out of victory. A toast to myself, to the man who refused to be a fool, to the man who took his life back. Then my phone buzzed. Mark, you good? I smirked, swirling the amber liquid in my glass. Better than ever. Good, he said, because we're going out. Drinks on me. I chuckled. Damn right they are. I grabbed my coat, took one last look at the house. Asterisk asterisk my asterisk asterisk house, now untainted, now mine in every sense of the word, and stepped outside. The night was crisp, the air clean, felt different, lighter, as if the entire world had just been reset, and I had been handed the keys to something brand new. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't walking toward a disaster. I was walking toward my future.